But everybody who's trying to, figure out what life is going to bring you a few years from now, I didn't expect to be sitting here 4 years ago, George. So nobody can make those predictions.
Actually, Governor, everyone can make those predictions, and they are. Newsflash, Christie, he is thinking about 2016, and he's not making it too much of a secret. We've got a whole slew of new numbers out today on the governor, and some pretty interesting ones that tell kind of a mixed bag here. And they all start with a hypothetical, with a 2016 matchup against the one we just spoke about, Hillary Clinton. And Andrew, break down the numbers because they do the head-to-head. They also say how the people in the Garden State feel about him, and they also put him against the field.
We'll get to that head-to-head against Hillary Clinton in just a little bit, Rich. But first up, the question of primary concern for the governor. Get it? Primary concern. Yeah. New NBC poll, Christie, still your 2016 Republican frontrunner, 32-31 over anyone else. Some interesting numbers about Christie from the people who know him best politically, New Jersey voters. Rutgers-Eagleton poll, 59% of Jersey think he's going to run for president, and this poll was in the field before Election Day, so voters probably knew he'd skip 2 years and go pros, but they voted for him anyway. And Christie's biggest strength on that tough talk Jersey attitude, 58% of New Jersey voters think it helps him get stuff done in New Jersey, but what works in Jersey don't always work in not Jersey. Same voters, only 22% think the tough talk will help Christie on the national stage. 62% of New Jersey voters say voters in the rest of the nation won't like it, Rich.
I don't buy it. His act has played well at national conservative circles that were waiting to boom when it started, and at the end, they gave him the biggest standing O. I've told the story too many times. I've seen him in constituencies that were ready, to roast him before it started. At the end, they were giving him standing O's, whether it be the firefighters here, even teachers. Who were looking to rip him a new one here. At the end of his conversation, he won some of them over, if not a few, and a lot of them sat on their hands instead of booing him at the end. People want authenticity. I think the polls are wrong. I think New Jerseyans don't give the rest of the country enough credit. People are so sick of professional politicians. I think his act travels.
Oh, absolutely. First of all, he's a great Republican story in this country. To say anything less is just, misleading. This guy won a blue state overwhelmingly.
And he was actually conservative. As much as people want to call him moderate, he's still pro-life. He's still against gay marriage. He's still against gun control. I mean, he's not some bleeding heart.
But can I ask you,
I think he's a Republican. I don't think he's a conservative.
While you're on this Chris Christie
Love Fest,
can I just ask, did he have a Democratic opponent in this great race?
Well, why didn't he? That's the part you keep leaving out.
He didn't for the same reason why Rudy Giuliani. Because that's true. That's true. I'll get to that.
Talk about clearing the field. I mean, this guy
was the same thing that Rudy did to Ruth Messenger. Same exact candidate for Chris Christie.
Except here's the
same numbers.
Here's the difference. Cory Booker was going to run for governor.
Right.
Cory could do math. Cory could say, not so good a chance over here. He left. Yeah, the state senator, state Senate Majority Leader, Mr. Sweeney, he did the math and said, I'd rather go in a primary here or not run. You have Sheila Oliver. What did she decide? She decided to run the Senate primary also with four or five of the biggest names.
There are enough names out there.
He did clear the field.
Somebody better than Barbara Bourne.
This guy is a rock star by every.
A rock star.
Yeah, he's a rock star.
Well, while you guys are on this Love Fest, wait until he gets into
the only person who may argue with him is Bruce Springsteen.
That's right. Wait until he gets in the middle of Iowa or New Hampshire, and he starts tripping up on himself, and he throws a temper tantrum, and the national media goes, "We're not buying that."
And it's not just hey, you got reporters from New York and Philly around you all the time, like you do when you're the governor of New Jersey.
Or loaded reporters where they're giving you wet accolades.
This isn't Palladino. This isn't Palladino with his baseball bat in New York.
No,
I mean, this is a former prosecutor. This is a guy who's in his second term as governor. This is a guy who is polished. He's been on national news, and he has done an outstanding job.
Remember that clip on the Jersey Shore when
I'm the only one who's coming unglued here.
Do you remember that clip of Christie on the Jersey Shore when he lost control
and the state troopers had to stop him?
Right, and there just happened to be a guy with a flip phone there. You're sure he's going to be able to handle the spotlight, which is this,
Andrew,
what is it first now, to an exponential degree.
He's had 4 years. He's had 4 years to implode. He's had a national crisis where the world are watching after Superstorm Sandy. He's been on more Sunday talk shows than probably just about every Republican that we can name of.
Mostly with wet kisses, but go on.
Okay, my point is he's had a very antagonistic legislature at times here. They've been fighting over contested budgets. He's had people in the field, including people in civil service, teachers, everyone else who've seen their numbers cut. They've gone after him in town halls. He hasn't shied away from a fight. And yet you guys are still waiting for him to go nuclear. It hasn't happened. You got to give him credit that he talks a tough game, but he also knows where to stop at the line without crossing it.
I give him lots of credit. He has handled the minefield a lot better than I thought he would. I'm just not ready to anoint him to the next level as some other people appear to be. I'm saying he hasn't passed that.
Okay, I have
he
a
hasn't
question
cleared
for
that
you.
final hurdle.
If you're
there's a
if
difference
you're a
between the national
Republican,
media.
Andrew, in a couple of years, and what's happened? For 8 years, you've lost the White House. You probably have missed opportunities in taking over both chambers of Washington after numerous chances because the fringe has basically taken over your message and your messaging. Wouldn't you rather win? Don't you think?
Right, but Richard, but the guys on the right, and you talk about this every night, the guys on the right are going to say, if we finally have a true far-right conservative candidate, we're going to win. That's what they're going to say.
Dominic. You're right, but after every election, that group gets smaller and smaller because they look around and say, what? We made Mitt Romney contort himself into a human pretzel, and for what?
So if America's mayor couldn't get past the primary,
Because he was a phony.
and you don't
He
think
was
that
a
people are going to
phony.
see that Chris Christie is a
They
phony?
think he's real. I
They-
don't think
he's selling a good game.
he's real.
selling a, what's going to happen, Richard, the first time he faces a real media interview? I'm not talking about these wet kisses where they'll do anything to get him to appear on the program. I'm talking about when he says, I'm not answering that. And the interviewer goes, really? And won't leave the topic
I know
alone.
people think Christie's got photos on me or something, but I'm telling you, I've seen him. He can handle it. He's a former prosecutor. Part of it is everything, and people
I think when he
forget.
gets into one of those Republican debates, one of the 20 that we're going to see leading up into 2016, he will have a problem. However, the voters, the Republican voters, are going to have to decide. Do they want to try to win this time, or do they want to
His
just stand
point.
on their silly
His
values?
point.
Yeah, and I think at some point you're going to see also the big business get behind him. I think that they think he's
I
going to be
agree.
good enough to Wall Street that the Koch brothers and the rest are going to say no more period.
The other thing about the business is they're more of the moderates, okay?
Yeah.
They're not the ultra conservatives. They're not the ones that are, the religious right. So those individuals are going to want to see the Republican Party thrive again.
Okay,
It will
now,
only
let me
thrive again.
play out a hypothetical
Okay.
here. Since we've done so many hypotheticals, we're not even 2014 already, and we're deciding it. Let's do the full Monty. Main event, Christie versus Hillary. Who wins head-to-head? At least what do the polls say now?
Well, right now it's Hillary, at least right now. NBC, Clinton beats Christie by 10, 44-34. Polls also show Christie would lose in New Jersey. Right now it's a lopsided win, too. Clinton wins all of these groups everywhere, including the South and the West. She even wins independents. Oh, she wins African Americans by 79 points.
Shock.
Christie only wins in these groups, whites, seniors, and top earners. And he doesn't win most of those groups by all that much, Rich.
Listen, Republicans have been saying forever, Brad, they got to broaden their base. You can't just have all white guys. It doesn't work. Each election, the demographics keep getting darker in this country here. To that point, I don't know who can break through and say, wouldn't we rather win, guys? But if somebody
white
can
governor?
crystallize that argument and say, we got to stop scaring Latinos here. We got to make women think that we're not, just for men only party. I'm not saying Chris Christie's the poster child for all that, but nonetheless, I don't see who else is.
Well, also, it's again, I think it comes back to what you said earlier, is money. It comes down to money. If he's going to be the guy that's backed by all the money, he's going to be very tough to fight. Because when you looked at the last Republican, mix-up, these guys all had the money guys behind each one, and it was, that's where it became a battle. I think here they're going to line up for Christie. I really do. He's a Northeast guy. A lot of the money here is up in the Northeast. He's got those guys. He's going to have the billionaires club behind him.
I have another question for you, too. What happens when Hillary Clinton, Governor Christie said to Mitt Romney's vetting folks, I'm not giving you the documents. If you want to consider me for vice president, fine. I'm not going to give you the documents about my days as a lobbyist. You don't think Hillary Clinton already has a Chris Christie file with all those documents
I'll
in it
answer
ready
your
to
question
go?
with a question, Dominic. Of all the Republicans you can think of, who do you think most effectively could ask her about Benghazi of the Republican field? Chris Christie, I made the mistake when he ran against Corzine that, hey, the photo of him getting out of the car, remember that photo?
yeah.
I'm like, this guy's unelectable. He made jokes about his weight. He did the bit with the donut on Letterman. People love that. I almost said ate it up. Okay, but they do. He seems like he's a flawed person. He don't look like Mitt Romney. He'll take the jokes in himself. I have been surprised I've gotten more of maybe an education in terms of what the public will and won't accept. Watching Christie here go from somebody I didn't think could win to actually not only win, but win by 20-some points in New Jersey. Let's just think for a second. He's a Republican with a 20-plus point margin in New Jersey. That's not that easy.
Those stories that you tell with, boy, he walks into a room of people who hate him and they cheer him at the end of the day, that's true. But there are also plenty of people who still hate him and hate him even more at the end of those speeches.
You know any Democrats who voted for Obama who would vote for Christie? Because I know a whole bunch.
I don't. I hadn't put that math together just yet. But there are other issues at play. You think he's genuine, and he is, but he's genuinely selling something that a lot of his base doesn't want to buy. And convincing them of that is going to be difficult. The single biggest thing that he can do as a selling point is, I'm the guy who can beat Hillary Clinton. We just saw a poll that said he can't by 10 points.
All right. Well, I think the one thing we can maybe agree on at this table is we've got plenty of time to figure this thing out here, all right? Coming up next, we're going to bring this closer to home and talk about an amazing comment of all places in a daily that is highly respected. It has to do with the de Blasio family. Anything you see here makes you have a reflex, gag reflex here? Well, according to one very prominent writer for, as I said, a prominent paper, this picture caused that just so effect here. We're going to talk about that and maybe what really lies behind the surface of more Americans than they care to admit. Stay with us.